Good morning, everybody on YouTube. What's going on? Steve here, Raiken Profit. We also have a couple guests on as well. Well, my partner in crime, Eric, the college picker, admin of the green room, one of the admins. And also we have Christian Pace. What's going on, man? How you
Good
doing,
morning.
Christian?
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, doing well. So you've been a green room member for how long?
Right around 2 years. I think I just fell under the green room OG status, just barely.
We got an OG
You
in the house.
squeaked by.
Yeah.
You just squeaked by.
Very cool. So, Eric, why don't you tell everybody what we are going to be talking about in today's show and kind of how this all came about and why we're doing this?
Absolutely. So within the green room, we don't just talk about reselling. We try to be a little bit deeper than that. And some topics that have been coming up over the last couple months here and there, people talk about reading these books, like reading books to better your lives. And in January, I figured it's a great time to kick off and try a new program. We're going to try this for a couple of months, see how much engagement we get, see how people are enjoying it, the feedback that we get, if we feel like it's beneficial. And we're going to be reading a book a month. It's called Green Room Reads. You can read about that on greenroomuniversity.com. And there's a Green Room Reads tab at the top for members only. If you're not a member, you can still, the schedule is posted. You could still read the book and come to the Hangouts. But the meat of the discussion kind of goes on in the Facebook group is what we're, because you can kind of plant out your ideas a little bit better with like 50 to 100 people in a forum style rather than this, but it's still a good way to get, maybe we'll do 2 to 5, 6 people talking about the books, getting different perspectives. We're going to try to do it once a month. Hopefully it comes to be and people end up liking it. The first book that we're going to be doing is the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferris. It was assigned for January. Everybody that's on the Green Room Reads email list got a couple email updates about it, and then a link to the discussion in the Facebook group. We did have some engagement, which was good. I did read this, or I listened to it earlier in my life, I think a couple years ago, but then reread it cover to cover this time. And I just finished it today, actually. I wanted to confess. I did read the meat of it for the Facebook discussion, and then there's like a little bit of extra resources at the end. I finished that up today. It was just a couple blog posts and stuff, but the actual book I had finished the book part. This is the newest version. There's a lot of extras in it, and we did provide a link to it. There's a very small affiliate commission. I think we get like 1 or 2 or 3% or whatever that'll be going to Green Room stuff if you do purchase through that link. And it's a great book, so I do recommend you getting a copy yourself. Take notes in. I have a ton of notes in this one that I took. So.
Yeah, so we're going to be pretty much summarizing the key points and just kind of reviewing the book, right? There's definitely some awesome things we love about it. We also think there's some things that aren't going to fit for everybody. You know, I was saying before the show, you know, this book is for a specific type of person, and we're going to talk about that as well. I'm looking in the comment section right now. It looks like we've got about 40 people watching live right now, so that's awesome. Glad to have you guys here. We've got Thriftology in the house saying, yo, been waiting on this show about a quarter way through the book right now. Someone got it for me as a Christmas gift. So that's really, really cool. LJA says, up early, aren't we? Yes, we are up early to review Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. Let's see. We got Flip and Hustle saying, I love book reviews that can help me grow my business. The Millionaire Fastlane completely flipped the script and took my mindset and hustle to a whole new level. And that's by, I think, MJ DeMarco. Have you guys read
I have
called?
not read that one.
I've not read that one. It's
really
on my
good
list.
book. That's a really, 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 really good book. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. If you guys are excited about this show, hit the like button. If you want us to do more book reviews in the future, hit the like button as well and leave a comment below. Let us know what you want to see and maybe any other future ideas. But with that being said, are we okay, Christian and Eric, to jump into the show? Eric, you want to kind of take it away?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I just want to preface this saying that I am single, not married, without kids. Steve is single, not married, without kids. And Christian, I believe, is married with kids, correct?
Yes.
So it's going to be 3 different, a little bit different perspectives. The book does kind of give examples of if you were married and had kids, like people that still can do it, but of course, I mean, not everybody is going to have the same freedoms and abilities as everybody else.
Who's this book for? Can we start with that? Like, who, if someone hasn't read the book, or maybe even if they are like reading it, who do you think this book is for? Because I keep saying I think it's for a specific type of person. What do you think, Christian? Who's this book for, and who's this book not for?
I think this book is for anybody that's looking to maybe simplify their life a little bit, give themselves a little more freedom. Maybe they're a little bit tired of the grind of the 9 to 5. I know, some people enjoy that. I'm getting to the point in my life where I don't enjoy that as much anymore. So, I think anybody looking for a little bit more freedom or a little bit more simplicity in their life, I think is who could enjoy this book.
I agree with the freedom, the simplicity. Also, I think it's for anybody who wants to be able to design their own life. This book gives a lot of hope to being able to kind of create your own lifestyle, to be able to travel, to be able to live remotely, to build a business that doesn't necessarily require you to be running it and spending all the time on the business. So I think those are definitely some things. Eric?
Yeah, it breaks down a lot of myths that people, or like preconceptions that people might have, that they could not work remotely in certain situations, or these like millionaire lifestyles are super expensive or super lavish all the time, but they don't have to be if you're smart about certain resources or learn how to travel within your means. They does talk about that, which is really, really cool, because a lot of people just think travel is super expensive, but it actually can be the complete opposite. Your money can go a lot farther in certain countries. So
I've been looking into places like Thailand. I know you're in Bangkok right now.
Yes, I had the opportunity to read this book in Thailand, which is actually like a dream come true, to be able to read it and apply it to certain parts of my life. And actually, a lot of things in this book I already had been doing, but I just didn't know like what it was called, and I don't know, it wasn't like laid out like Tim Ferris had laid it out.
Awesome. So yeah, let's dive into the meat and potatoes. Do you want to start talking about some key takeaways? Is that kind of a good place to start, you think?
Yeah, the way the book's broken down, it's into 4 different major chapters: definition, elimination, automation, and liberation. They call it the DEAL, just to make a nice little acronym. The definition is kind of when you're looking at what you want your life, what's your life to be, I think that's where he talks about the dreams too, right? The dream line is in the definition. Yeah. So you're going to be doing these like, he has a lot of exercises in the book, which is really interesting to me, where it says like, stop what you're doing, do this right now. Like here's a part of the book, like it actually has the dream line in it, where you can write things of what you want to like do down in these little columns, or you can print them out. So you're defining like, what are these like short-term dreams? Like you're actually wanting to, if you want to speak another language, then it's not just, I want to speak another language. I want to have a 10-minute conversation with a taxi driver, for example, instead of I want to Spanish. Like you're making it a lot more tangible than just like an abstract idea of like, I want to learn Spanish, if that makes sense. Your cost of living, you want to kind of start calculating that in the definition. What else, Steve? Or Christian, what else was it going on in the definition chapter?
Yeah, just like you said, defining your goals and defining your resources, defining your cost of living, breaking that down.
Cost of living, yeah.
Every penny, finding what you can eliminate, what you need to keep. Basically, it's about prioritizing. I believe that chapter is about
Yeah, getting over fears, past society expectations. Oh, I just froze.
Yeah, Christian froze. Anyways, the next part was elimination, right?
Yeah, this is one that a lot of people liked. I think you could apply this to a lot of different businesses. Even if you don't want to quit your job, or if you don't want to work remotely, I think the elimination, like you can apply it to your eBay business, you can apply it to your Amazon business, you can apply it to a lot of different places, and that's eliminating like these little tasks in your life that are kind of meaningless, or at least optimizing how you do them. Right, Steve?
Yeah. Is this where they talked about the 80-20 rule?
The 80-20 rule was mentioned a lot of times. That's the Pareto principle,
Yeah.
the 80-20, where 80% of your outcomes is defined by like 20% of your actions, or like 80% of your problems happens for like 20% of your people. But yeah, they did mention it, I believe, in that chapter as well, the Pareto's principle.
Because there's some certain things in life that we do that we really don't have to be doing, or we could easily outsource. So, so many times we want to simplify our life, but we have all these things going on that we don't really need to do. So take a look at your life, take a look at all the things you're doing, and really start to figure out what's most important to you, what only you can do.
The Pareto principle, it goes a big into efficiency versus effectiveness. Like, are you just being really efficient at what you're doing, or is what you're doing like actually having a big impact on your income stream or on where you're trying to go? Focusing more on effectiveness instead of the efficiency, because you could be really efficient at doing something that makes you no money. You could be really efficient at checking your email. You could be really efficient at checking out your Instagram or checking your Facebook or something. Like, you could be really efficient at that. Time management. He goes big into time management during elimination, how to manage yourself and how you might not be managing your time correctly, the distractions that other people can be bringing to you, negative people in your life, how you kind of want to eliminate them. If you want to be somebody that like gambles, smokes, and drinks, you're going to want to hang out with people that gamble, smoke, and drink. If you want to do something different with your life, you're going to want to hang around with people that are also doing something different or wanting to do something different in their life, which is actually a big principle of what we have in the Facebook group, is trying to get around like-minded, positive people. Like, that's a huge theme. That's like an overwhelming umbrella theme in our Facebook group.
Speaking of like wasting time, one of the really big things that I got out of the book was checking the emails, getting overloaded with social media, picking up the phone when it's a phone number that you don't know. Like, our attention is so important. It doesn't matter if you're running a 7-figure business, or you're running an eBay business, or an Amazon business, or you're just selling products, whatever, you have your own company. It doesn't matter. Your time is so valuable. And when you're in the middle of doing whatever you're doing, say you block out your times. I talked about that as well. Say you're working for 2 hours, turn off the phone, turn off the social media. Don't check the email. We've got to control ourselves, because every time you go to check the email, every time you pick up the phone, that's somebody who's trying to take your attention away.
Yeah, and when it talks about like some of the science stuff in there, like breaking your attention, like what you were doing initially isn't going to be done as efficiently or effectively. Now your attention's broken. So trying to eliminate those kind of things out of your life.
Yeah, knowing my own habits when it comes to like checking social media or Facebook or whatever, it kind of sends you down a rabbit hole that you may not come out of for an hour or 2 hours. So it can be a big time suck if you don't manage it.
Yeah, going down the rabbit hole. And I have something underlined right here. Inescapable setup time for all tasks, large or minuscule. Every single thing that we do, there is a setup time and there's a breakdown time, no matter how small it is. If it's opening a web browser, if it's logging into a website, like, there is a setup time, and that does add up. And it's kind of looking at a micro scale, but it like just brings light to it. Some things you like had never thought about before.
And that goes into batching tasks as well, that he mentions a lot, because of that setup time on the front end and the back end. For example, grocery shopping, or picking up the mail, or answering emails, or even social media. A lot of these things you can batch and do at one time. It saves you a lot of time in the long run because of that setup time, also because of distractions as well. And, especially if you're selling on eBay or you're in e-commerce, there's so many different things that you can batch that would save you a lot of time, but not only time, stress as well, and just overwhelm. So I really got a lot out of that.
We're going to jump into automation. Elimination is a great chapter. I think everybody can take something away from that. I think during our discussion on Facebook, a lot of people were saying, yeah, I really enjoyed the elimination chapter. I really enjoyed the elimination chapter. The automation one, this one, it's kind of going to be dependent on your situation. Getting a virtual assistant, he really stresses getting one, but also you shouldn't get one if you don't really know what to give them. But then he still tells you to get one anyways, so it's like a little bit confusing. Christian, what do you think about the automation chapter?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was a little confused by the virtual assistant stuff too. I think he's really just encouraging you, even if there's only one thing that you can give a virtual assistant, do it just to get out of your comfort zone as far as doing that step, and it's going to be easier for you when you do find more that needs to be done. But yeah, automation was interesting for me. I have very few things automated in my life, but I'd like to have more for sure.
See,
go Steve, go.
Okay, in the book he talked about how there's a lot of changes going on where a lot of these big companies are using, like, everything is getting outsourced now. A lot of these big companies are using virtual assistants from India, from the Philippines, and it's so cheap. It's super cheap. You can hire. I've hired a bunch of VAs in the past, and right now I'm working with 2. And you can hire them really cheap, and these people are good workers. I mean, they're on point. I mean, a lot of American workers have to watch out because a lot of these folks international, they know a lot about work ethic. They are working hard for little money. But then again, in the Philippines, you could hire somebody for $4, $5 an hour. I've got my personal assistant who I pay $6 an hour to in the Philippines, and that's a good living for them out there. That can go a long way, and she's amazing. And I think what he's saying is hire a personal assistant because you want to start to be the commander in your life. You want to start to learn how to give instruction to get things done instead of you being the cog, you being the one doing every little thing. Like, for me, my biggest struggle is getting out of my own way. When I break down all my businesses and all the different things I'm doing, like, my biggest problem is I'm trying to do everything. And since this book, I've hired a personal assistant, and she's been helping me a lot with the YouTube channel. We've got somebody for the green room. I've got somebody for the blog, and I'm slowly getting myself out of the way because he mentioned something that's really interesting. And I'm looking for the note that I wrote down. He goes, it's more important what you do versus how you do it. And I want to touch on this really quickly because, and what I mean by that, it's more important what you do versus how you do it. For example, like, if your goal is to make $1 million, right? You can work all day long, 10, 12, 14 hours a day on these kind of low level. And when I say low level, I mean tasks that don't really make you a lot of money or don't generate revenue at all. Like, you could be super efficient without being effective. Being effective is doing things that get you closer to making $1 million. Being efficient is being really good at a process, but that process might not be important. So he says you got to take a look at what you're doing. Are you climbing up the right ladder? If you want to make $1 million, if you want to quit your job, if you only want to work 30 hours a week, what are you doing? It doesn't matter how well you do something if it's not that important.
Yeah,
so that was really big.
With the VA, I'm glad you said more about giving instruction, because that does make more sense that you're going to be learning these management skills that you might not have by dictating the instruction and the clarity. It's going to help you with communication, management, instruction, clarity, those kind of things that will be very important further down the road when you want to get into that, like, higher thinking, higher productivity mindset in that level. Like, you're going to be having to manage other people more than likely.
And if you want to grow your business, you've got to focus on the things that matter most. If you're doing every little thing, you're not going to get there. I mean, recently I've started up a Shopify store, and there's so many tasks that I could be doing. And I was doing it, and I was spending 5, 6, 7 hours a day doing it. I was uploading products. I was researching products. I was doing social media. I was doing all these things. And I asked myself after reading the book, what's the 80-20? What are the 20% of things that I could only do that make up for the results, which is generating revenue? And I said to myself, it's not social media. It's not uploading products. Like, there's all these things that I was doing that really didn't equate to what I wanted, which was generating revenue. So you've got to think about that in your own life as well, whether you're running an eBay business, an Amazon business, whatever it is. Even if you're working a 9-to-5 job, there's things that you can outsource in your life as well, which he talked about. So that was the biggest thing that I got out of the book, was the virtual assistants, the 80-20 rule. Just really, really important stuff.
Yeah. The next one talks about liberation. This is the part that it has to deal with being able to travel, freeing yourself up from your physical location. If you're working a cubicle job or something from a computer, that you maybe be able to get a little trust from your employer and get a little bit farther away, and eventually disappear into like the mountains of China and then work from there. So it kind of seems unreasonable, but it gives examples and people say that it can work. So you never know.
No, you're just going to stop?
Let me flip to that page. So these little mini retirements. Okay, that's part of the liberation chapter too. They define these things as mini retirements. And what is a mini retirement to you, Christian?
Just taking, little small blocks of time for something other than work. Just relaxing, enjoying time with your family, learning something new about something that you're interested in. Just taking small blocks of time. I think for most people, his mini retirements of 4 to 6 weeks are probably not realistic, but I think everybody can take a few days from time to time. I'm interested in extended travel, but for me it's not realistic.
Yeah. So Steve, you've done what I guess it'd be like a mini retirement. Well, you were working while you were doing it. You were like thrifting across the country. You've done those kind of like liberating trips before, right? Where you've just like taken off into some vacation.
Yeah, and I'm definitely looking to do more of that, and I'm creating my businesses and what I'm building upon to be congruent with that. When I went on that trip, it was it was liberating in a sense, but it was a lot of work as well. Traveling and shipping and going to all the thrift stores. So it was definitely liberating, but it was a lot of work. The way that I'm trying to build my businesses now on is dealing with a lot less physical products and dealing with more digital products. And if I do deal with physical, I want to not have to touch them. And that's just my own personal kind of like my dream of what I want to do. And I think everyone has to take a look at their life and their business and figure out what it is they want and realize that in today's day of age, 2017, you can create that. That's really what I got out of this book. You can design your life. You can make it happen. If you want to work remotely, if you want to travel, if you want to have a business that's automated, that you're not having to work in all the time. The book isn't about how to work 4 hours a week. A lot of people, that's a way to sell the book. It's a great title. It gets you thinking. But there's a lot of ignorant people out there. They don't read the book. They just judge it instantly and be like, I'm not reading that book. That's crap. That's a scam. You can't work 4 hours a week or less. That's not the point of the book. The point of the book is that you can create your own life and you can design it to the point where you could work 4 hours a week if you wanted to. And it's definitely possible, traveling internationally, especially to places like Thailand, Chiang Mai, Thailand, super dirt cheap. Like it's possible to do it. But that's not the overall point of the book, to work 4 hours a week.
Yeah, a mini retirement, it kind of what Tim Ferris describes it as is instead of this 2-week vacation that you're given in the corporate world, or 1 week maybe if you're lucky, you get these blocks of maybe like 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 6 months, like things that you've just like even maybe never even dreamed of or have dreamed of, but just like never thought it could happen. Mini retirements, it really hit me home because I didn't know that's what I've been doing, but I've been doing this for like my whole life. Is I just have an idea and then I just go with it. I just rode my bicycle across the country last year from Florida to San Diego, and it took me like 6 months to do it, and I did it in like 3 months block, and then like another month here, and I just split it up. That was like a mini retirement for me. It was just working from my computer on the road, like, so my mind was so clear. It was such a good time, like connecting. I had so many really good ideas with it. I met so many really good people, and I just felt like I grew as a person. When you have these like really short vacations, like you're kind of stressed about going back, and you're stressed about how crammed your itinerary is, and you just like have to do this, have to do that, a really tight schedule, and that kind of can be stressful too. So I really like the mini retirement descriptions. There's a chapter called When More is Less, Cutting the Clutter. Tim Ferris seems to be a little bit of a minimalist, which I can relate to as well, which I really enjoy that aspect, because this man has so much money, he can have everything, but he still covets the ability to live without comfort, I should say, rather to the ability to have less, but he can live even without comfort. I believe this man could be able to sleep on the floor and still be perfectly happy, rather than complaining about like how hard a mattress is at a hotel or something. He seems very level-headed about material, physical things, even though he does seem very arrogant at times.
Yeah, I like that part a lot. It's, for some reason, after reading the book, I've been wanting to simplify my life a lot more. Like, I'm even thinking about, my lease is going to be ending soon. I've been thinking about even downsizing into something smaller, and less expensive, you know, getting rid of the car, getting something like, it just, I don't know what it is, but after reading that book, it makes me want to just downsize, go minimalist, and just be able to travel and do what I want. Because so many times, like, people think that happiness is in like the house that you live in or the car that you have and all these physical things, but it really just adds up to a lot of stress at the end of the day, especially if you're just starting a business. Like I don't know what it was about that book, but it made me realize, like, you don't need all these amazing, like, nice cars and all this stuff. Like, yeah, I want to have them. Like, I want to live in a beautiful place. Like, I want to have a nice car. Like, I want to have all these things, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna buy happiness. You think it's gonna create happiness.
I really thought it was interesting how he talked about mobility and time being your currency rather than money.
Exactly.
I thought
that's
that was
a huge theme of the book. Huge theme.
Yeah, I thought that was super interesting. That was one that really made me think a lot. That one really stopped me and, you know, made me sit down and think about that for a little while.
Who is really richer, the man working 80 hours a week making $100,000, or the guy working 5 hours a week making $50,000?
Right.
And the ability, your per hour, it's like goes down to your per hour worth, or your systems and your mobility, versus how much actually income you're bringing in. Because if you're bringing in so much income, you don't have the time to live, then why is life even worth living in the beginning?
I would go so far to the extent to say I would rather make $50,000 a year and work, 15 hours a week, but have my freedom, selling digital products, being able to travel, low stress levels, versus working a corporate job like 60 hours a week. I would even say $300,000 a year. I would turn it down. I swear to you, I would turn it down. Because it's just for me, and this is why I said this book isn't for everybody, but for me, I'm the type of person where I value my freedom so much in creating my own lifestyle. It's just, I don't know. Are you the same way? Could you turn down $300,000, Christian? Maybe it's different for you because you have a family and everything. I'm here. I'm single, and
I think I could. I've actually just turned down a promotion recently, so. For me, it's not really about the money anymore. In my younger days, it was, but now with kids, wife, and a family, I'd really just have more time with them. There was a study I read one time that the happiness level, money can create happiness, but only up to a certain point, and that point was about $70,000.
Really?
Once you make more than that, any extra money in most locations is not going to bring you that much more ability to live or happiness.
I even find myself
to the point of like no stress or low stress.
Right.
That.
I think the trap is when you always say to yourself, and like I found myself doing this as well over the last few years, is saying to myself, like, I'll be happy when I get that better car, or when I get that nicer apartment, or whatever. And you realize once you, like, for example, like where I live now, like I'm living in the nicest apartment I've ever lived in. It's like 1,700 square feet, beautiful community, garage, and everything I ever wanted. And I moved from, a 900 square foot apartment. And I thought, like, all my worries would be gone. I'd be so happy. And like you move in and everything's great. And like 2 months later, you're like, now what? And like I've got this idea in my head that like, oh, I want to go out and buy a Mercedes. I want to buy this nice car. And after reading this book, I'm thinking like, why am I always looking for the next thing to find happiness? It's like we're like trained, right? Eric's laughing because you know exactly what I'm talking about. We're trained to think that that next physical materialistic thing is going to bring the happiness, and it's just crazy.
I've always lived with this mentality though. I've been so blessed that I've been like immune to consumerism almost my entire life. I don't know why. I'm like immune to marketing and immune to consumerism. I have no idea why.
He's just numb to it.
I am. I like it doesn't faze me at all.
Copywriters are up in the middle of the night, cold sweats trying to get through to you.
For real, like I don't have desires to like I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. He does give exercises throughout the book. Did you guys think any of those were kind of weird? Where he was like, "Go walk down the street, make eye contact with somebody for two seconds or 3 seconds or maybe 10 seconds, and then just don't break eye contact till they do." Like, did you guys do any of that, or did you just read it and kind of like, "I'm not gonna do that"?
I didn't do that, but in college, I had some sociology classes where we did some similar things. Just go stand in an elevator, stand as close as you can to somewhere, even if there's no one else in the elevator, stuff like that. It's really just about training yourself to get out of your comfort zone, training yourself to be in situations where you are uncomfortable, but still be okay with it.
Yeah, that was one of them. The other one was laying down in the middle of the street where there's no cars. Like, just lay down on the sidewalk. Just for some reason, just a bunch of people lay down, close your eyes, count to 10, and then stand up. It's ridiculous. I didn't do any of that, but it's in the book. I definitely can see Christian's point of getting out of your comfort zone. I'm pretty out of my comfort zone already, so I might do something like that if my friends were around and would get like a laugh out of it. But I feel like I didn't do any of that because I don't know. Maybe I didn't need it. I don't know.
So it looks like we got 81 people watching live right now. So that's pretty cool. I know we've kind of been all over the place during this show. I kind of had an idea of how the show was going to go, and then Eric kind of threw it in a different direction that I wasn't ready for. So I feel like it's kind of been all over the place, but maybe it hasn't. Let us know what you guys think of this show so far. What have you been getting out of it? What have you learned? If you guys are enjoying this show, be sure to hit the like button. That's going to be an indicator of if we're going to do this again live or if we're going to do it just for the green room. Josh Games is in the house right now. We've got Pittsburgh Mike talking about rap battles in the comment section right now. Good to see you guys. Thriftology, Mother's Mustache. You got to love that name right there. But what direction do you want to go, Eric? Do you want to answer some comments, or do you want to kind of just...
One of the other things that I thought he made a really good point was doing a media fast. Have you guys ever done a media fast before?
No, but I need to. I need to do a fast of just getting away from the phone, getting away. I don't watch TV or listen to the radio, but I need to do a fast of getting away from the phone and the laptop.
Yeah, the media fast I thought was awesome because during this previous election, like I was constantly that I was not immune to, is I was like reading every single article I could, being politically informed, reading this, following that, reading this, doing that, and I'm still doing it, and I'm just like, dude, is it really gonna make that big of an impact on me? Well, stock market, yes. So that's my lie to myself to like keep reading it. It's like I could just it has an impact on my assets, so. I need it though.
Okay.
I definitely need it. Christian, have you ever done a media fast?
I've done it for like a day. It was actually really hard. Yeah, it's hard.
It's definitely not easy. But Tim makes a really good point with the book that it's a lot of time wasters. Most of the information you're reading is irrelevant, negative to your goals. He's very, very. He mentioned this a couple times in the book. He's very adamant about reading 1 hour of fiction before bed for pleasure, like to clear your mind, to just like completely get you out on a different mindset than thinking about work, thinking about stress, thinking about this and that. Have you guys ever done that before?
Christian, why don't you take that? I was looking at the comments.
I don't have a specific like reading fiction or something like that, but I do have my little ways to relax before going to bed to clear my mind. Not specifically reading fiction, but I think in his case, he said he had some kind of I can't remember what disorder he said that he thought he might have, that his brain just constantly moves and he has to find a way to slow it down before bedtime. So I think everybody needs to find their own thing. I don't really enjoy reading fiction. I get about 2 chapters in and I'm done. I have other ways that I clear my mind, though, for sure.
This has been one of my biggest struggles. Like one of the newest habits that I want to form is creating a kind of like a winding down schedule, because like I've been noticing lately, like I've been sleeping past my alarm. I've been waking up feeling groggy, and like I haven't been feeling super amazing like over the last month, because I've been allowing myself to just work right up until bed. I've been allowing myself to watch Netflix while I'm going to sleep. Like for me, like I think it's so important to kind of have that 1 to 2 hour period, whether it's reading fiction or saying, okay, at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock, I'm done with work. No more laptop, no more stimulating Netflix. Like recently I went through the TV show Spartacus, and I'm up until like 1 a.m. watching this, and like I'm waking up, like I'm having these terrible nightmares, and I'm waking up feeling like crap. And it's like, it's so important that we build out a routine for the nighttime to wind down. Stop drinking caffeine, stop watching all this crazy TV, turn off the lights. Tim Ferris talks a lot about different ways to be able to get a better sleep and different techniques, although that might be the tools of Titans that I'm getting mixed up with. But
yeah, I don't think he mentioned it in here other than the
I'm reading two of his books at the same time, so that's kind of messing with me. But do you have a routine, Eric, to where like you say, okay, I'm cutting off work at this time, I'm done with electronics at this time? Like, is your bedroom your sanctuary, or is your bedroom also the place where like you work at the same time? Because I believe you talked about that too.
I do everything. I'll bring the laptop in there and work on the website, or I'll watch an episode of something. But I have read fiction before I've gone to bed, and it made for great sleep. I haven't had issues sleeping here, no matter what I did before bed, so I haven't adjusted anything accordingly. But it's just a tool that you can try that definitely has reasoning behind it, and if it works for you, continue doing it. There's definitely science also saying that sleep hygiene is correlated with like screens and lights and things like that. So if you're doing those kind of like light stimulating things before bed, that it's going to have negative impacts on you as well.
I love doing meditating before sleep. I want to throw that out there really quick. Do any of you guys meditate at all?
Prayer. I do prayer. It's kind of a form of meditation.
Christian, what about you? Have you ever tried meditating?
I don't meditate, but I do have a short prayer time. My thing that I've been doing for about the last month is walking every night after I get home from work. Once the kids go to bed, I go walk for about 45 minutes to an hour, and bedtime, I'm out.
That's a good one.
There's a lot of different forms of meditation.
Were there any really, really good questions to answer from the feed, Steve? We can go over some questions, or we can jump into how we can apply some of this stuff to resale.
Yeah, sure. One thing I want to mention, Fraser said, and this is true, I've actually been doing it recently. Try drinking apple cider vinegar and honey and water, like Tim Ferris talks about. It works so well, and it'll knock you right out. What you do is you take a little bit of water, right? Fill up your cup a little bit, pour in a tablespoon or 2 of apple cider vinegar with a teaspoon of raw honey, and that just knocks you right out. I'll do that, and then I'll meditate for about 5 minutes. And my meditation is more or less, I do different forms. I do either breathing meditation or sometimes I forget what it's called, but it's kind of like a mantra meditation, and it'll knock you out like crazy. Let's see. So you want me to take a look in the comments, see what folks are saying? There's not a ton of comments coming in. There's two of my buddies talking about rap battles.
Oh my gosh. One of the biggest things I think related to resale would be the batching principles. We've talked about that on multiple hangouts about batching things, just getting your system down where you're doing very repetitive things at the same time over and over again, so you're not having to do that startup and that breakdown time to kind of batch things together. So your pictures, your descriptions, your shipping, like kind of batching all those things together.
I think another thing too related to reselling is asking yourself, is this really worth my time? I see a lot of resellers who they'll go out and they'll buy anything just because it makes a profit, but they're not really thinking about all the time that it takes to, either source it, to list it, to ship it, and what they're actually making out of the deal. I know I dealt with this early on in my reselling career with clothing, where I was buying anything that made a $5 profit. It came to the point where I said to myself, this stuff's either not getting listed, or the time it's taking to list it just doesn't equate to my goals. I don't know, Christian, have you ever dealt with that, where you kind of look at your reselling business and you're like, okay, like this is where I want to spend my time because this just isn't worth it for me?
Yeah, more and more over the last year, I've gotten into that mindset because I was like that. I used to buy anything that I could make $1 or $2 on, but the time it takes to list it and ship it and deal with any potential customer issues, it's just is just not worth it. So I don't do eBay so much anymore. I'm more doing Amazon for mostly right now. I do a little bit of eBay, but the things I list on eBay, I've either gotten for like next to nothing, or I'm going to make like a lot of money on. So I don't really mess with tiny profit stuff much anymore.
Yeah, a lot of the applications of this book would be more towards Amazon, I believe. Then you can do eBay here and there with your processes. You could hire a VA for processing eBay. You could get them to list for you even. You could take a bunch of pictures, drop them into Dropbox, teach someone how to list. If you maybe pre-created the titles and got somebody that kind of maybe had previous experience and could maybe see the pictures of how long the clothes were with a measuring tape, or you have to give them descriptions, or if they have to do research themselves on like an electronic, if there's a model number. But it would be possible to do a Dropbox with photos and a document to kind of, it all depends on how you teach that VA to do it for you. Like,
I know Dallas Moore used to be big into that. He had ways of outsourcing his eBay listings to VAs. He did that quite a bit.
Let me ask you guys a question. If Tim Ferris was here right now and he was a reseller and only a reseller, what business model do you think that he would be going into? Because I know exactly, like I feel like I know exactly what he would be doing. In terms of, let's just talk about like in terms of like just basic. When I say basic, I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean like, okay, let me rephrase that. If he was only doing eBay and Amazon, what type of business model would Tim Ferris be going after?
wholesale.
I think, wholesale or online arbitrage for sure.
Eric?
He'd be wholesale or private label his own product.
He'd be wholesale or private label. He definitely would, because the cool thing about wholesale and private label is you could actually build that business up to the point where you don't even touch the products.
Yeah.
I have a friend, and I just recently interviewed him, Nick Landowski. He runs a private label business on Amazon. He actually private labels products. He gets them manufactured in China, and then he has an inspector. He hired an inspection company to inspect the products before they get shipped off to the Amazon warehouse, to assure that there's no issues during the manufacturing process. So he literally, private labels a product, the manufacturer creates it in China, his inspection company gives him the go that it's all good, and then he has the manufacturer ship it to Amazon and gets logged into the FBA warehouse. I mean, wow, like that's crazy. Like that's a write up.
Hands off.
And I mean, just imagine all the different tasks that you can outsource in that, from communicating with suppliers to inspection companies to with Amazon, there's a lot of different things that sometimes you have to do when ASINs go out, or just little tiny issues you can easily get a VA to do. So I strongly agree that anyone out there watching should hire their first virtual assistant and just start outsourcing little tiny tasks, little tiny little things. Like start with like 30 minutes a week, an hour a week, and just outsource something and build that up.
If you could give them 3 things to super specific things to outsource, what would you tell like a average reseller to outsource?
That's a good question right there. I
would say listings for sure. Like Work on listings. I was doing it at one point. But I was also traveling at the same time, so I wasn't able to train them correctly, and that project kind of fell off off my table. But I'd say if you could do listings, absolutely.
Are you talking about a physical person coming in and doing the listing? I don't know what you mean by that.
Like a VA, like dropping the pictures into you could either take the pictures yourself or have your buddy take the pictures or your employee and then drop it into Dropbox and have them, because all you need is a computer and the files to make a listing. You don't necessarily need the product in your hand unless it has flaws, but the pictures or a small description to the VA to actual physically create the listing, they could do that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what I'd recommend people to do besides that, but I would say this is an exercise that I've done recently, and this is something I'd advise you guys to do as well, is track your entire week, your whole business week, and track every little thing that you're doing, right? So for me, that could be, shooting a YouTube video, editing a video, listing this or creating a new product, uploading products, social media, all these different things, right? Write down all the different things that you're doing, and then ask yourself, what are the the 20% of things that are making up for 80% of the results? And then ask yourself, that 80% that's not really important or that someone else can do, what are one or two things that I could start to slowly outsource to get somebody to do, and build up your team, right? And a lot of people don't think like this. I mean, and I know I never thought like this because I was so excited to leave the Cracker Barrel and the whole 9-to-5 world just to kind of have my own freedom. Like I bought myself my own job. But if I could go back in time, I would hire a virtual assistant immediately and start building up my team, because eBay and Amazon could consume you. It really can. And, I think life is much more than just putting in 50, 60 hours a week, even if you're your own boss. So one thing I want to say too about virtual assistants, and this is another thing that I got out of the book, and I know, Eric, we've dealt with this because we have right now, we are working with 2 virtual assistants in the green room. When you hire somebody, the key is to be very slow at first. Take a long time to train them, to explain everything. Be crystal clear with what you want them to do, every little step. Tim Ferris says, if you have an inefficient process in your business, hiring a virtual assistant is only going to magnify it. But if you're efficient and you're effective and you have a really good process and it works, hiring a virtual assistant will magnify the good. So if you have a process that's really crappy and doesn't work, hiring a VA is not going to solve that. It's just going to magnify the
it can make it such a bad issue if you have communication issues or your process sucks. Like it's awful.
Take the time, right? What I do is I create a private Facebook group with my virtual assistants, and I create videos and I create text-based instructions for them, and I map it all out, and I give them that information in that private Facebook group so they could constantly reference it. So start small, start outsourcing one little thing at a time. One little thing, because I guarantee you guys, look at all the things that you're doing in your life right now. The point isn't to only work 4 hours, but it's to create a lifestyle that, fulfills you, right? Who the heck wants to work 50 hours a week if you don't have to?
Yeah, Tim Ferris even admits in the last part of this book that he doesn't work 4 hours a week. It was just a branding thing. It literally is just like an attention getter, and
exactly.
Don't take that.
The point of it is to work on what you want to work on, not what someone else telling you need to work on. He even talks about, just because your business is doing well and you're not as involved in the business and it's automated, you still have to find something to fill your time and find fulfillment in, even if it's not running your business or working a job.
And that's where the Dreamline kind of can come in to fill that time towards the end once you free it up. If you do work a cubicle job, I don't think very many people that watch Steve's stuff or any of the RESELL YouTube stuff probably work cubicle jobs, but he does give like step-by-step kind of breaks down real life examples and dialogue even of how to get that extra trust from your employer, and then eventually try to break it down. At some points it does seem unethical where he is either deliberately lying or it's a little grayish untruth, but you can take that with a grain of salt and tweak it to a way that you would feel comfortable with, I believe. I think he should update the book saying that. He hasn't done it yet, but I did have a problem with that going on in the book as well.
Yeah, I ran into the same same issue. Just, stuff like underproducing while you're in the office, but overproducing when you're working from home, things like that. That's I didn't feel good about that.
Yeah, it was a little deceitful at times, but it's more specifically of just trying to. He's very about working the system. Like when he was in China, he did a boxing competition, and he did like a super dehydration technique to get his weight down, and then he like uber hydrated after the weigh-in, and then he just kept pushing people out of the ring. Like it wasn't technically cheating because it was the rules, but he seemed like a very gray area. Like, I want to do this.
He's about results. He'll do whatever it takes to get the result that you want.
That's a really good way of putting it.
So, yeah, we highly recommend this book to anybody out there. I think it's a good read. I think everyone's going to get something a little differently out of it, just based on, your lifestyle and where you are in your life, right? So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I don't see a ton of comments coming in right now. It might be a little too early. Is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about before we wrap things up?
I did there's a post in the green room, if anyone from the green room is watching this, about specific things that I've done in my life. Most of them actually are related to what I've been doing around in Thailand right now. So it is very applicable, even if it's not in resale, like things you can just do in your life. I have a problem here getting groceries. So now I'm going to order groceries online, and it's going to save me probably about an hour or two a week just by like thinking. I literally probably wouldn't have thought of it if it wasn't for the book. So I'm gonna give a little credit to that.
Awesome, awesome. Anything else, Christian, that you wanted to touch on?
I would just say don't dismiss the book just because of the title or you feel like it doesn't apply to you, because I think anybody could read this book and find some valuable insights, find some things that they could take into their own lives to bring more value to their life or simplify or bring themselves more freedom.
Awesome, awesome. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and yeah, be sure to like the video if you guys enjoyed this, and that'll let us know to keep doing this type of content for you guys, and to be able to bring you guys really good books and summarize them for you and kind of extract the gold nuggets out for you, so you don't have to, spend 5 to 10 hours or more to read a book like we had to do it. So yeah, Christian, Eric, thanks for coming on. It was a lot of fun. Thanks everybody in the comment section for watching live. And yeah, that's about it. Eric?
We are going to be reading 7 Habits of Highly Effective People for February. So if you already have a copy of that, or if you want to get a copy of that, feel free to.
Awesome. Christian, thanks for coming on. Eric, appreciate it. Everyone in the comments, have a great day. We'll talk soon. And yeah, keep rocking it. Talk later.
Bye.